The South African Communist Party has declined an invitation from its alliance partner, the ANC, to mark 100 days of the Government of National Unity. Tensions have been rising between the SACP and the Thuli House leadership, with the Communist Party accusing the GNU of betraying the National Democratic Revolution. The Communist Party has also held a three-day meeting of the Central Executive Committee at the weekend. It covered various issues, including the country's political, economic and social state, and reached resolutions on topics including the basic income grant, transformation of the Reserve Bank, and expanded public employment. Let's try and make sense of all of this for you. Bring in the SACP's national spokesperson, Dr. Alex Mashilo, who's with us via our telephone line this morning. Dr. Mashilo, great to have you on the SABC. Thanks for making time. Let me say up front, we're unlikely to get through all of the issues, but perhaps we can start with the Central Committee plenary that was held at the weekend. More specifically, your stance around the GNU from that particular meeting. I mean, a statement that I have at my disposal, there's a line where you say you're not necessarily against the ANC, but you, I suppose, have reservations about the Government of National Unity. Perhaps flesh that out for us as we try to place where exactly you stand.
Thank you very much for coming to that issue. Just to go direct to the point, the SACP in June called a political bureau meeting, followed by another and a central committee. So this is the second central committee since the elections in May. We adopted a critical stance towards the Government of National Unity. However, we have made that clear that our critical stance towards the Government of National Unity is not an opposition stance towards the ANC. There is a difference between the two. The Government of National Unity comprises political representatives of right-wing forces, of beneficiaries of apartheid, and of the champions of the neoliberal policies such as austerity, such as the opposition to the Basic Education Laws Amendment, and the policies that have all along opposed our advance towards the national health insurance. In particular, the DA is the anchor of that.
Right. So then help us think through how then it is that the Communist Party can have representation by having members of the organization form part of a cabinet which is constituted under this umbrella of the GNU.
There is only one member of the SACP who serves on the cabinet, and thanks for highlighting that issue, because in other media it has been distorted as if we are a mass. Actually, the DA has more people on the cabinet than the SACP. The DA has 6 ministers, and the SACP National Office Bearers and Central Committee has only 1. And that one representative is there in terms of the ANC election manual rules, which require that your primary position to be there is that of the African National Congress. Yes, we have the right to serve there. 1, we campaign for the ANC as part of the alliance. 2, we voted for the ANC. If we didn't campaign for the ANC, if we didn't vote for the ANC ANC's performance in the elections would have been lower. Think about this. Just take 300,000 to 1 million votes out of what the ANC has received. You will see the conservative impact that the ANC would have suffered had we not campaigned for it and had we not voted for it. Secondly, our critical stance towards the Government of National Unity in terms of political philosophy, think about it as a frontal attack. In the olden days, in the struggle against colonialism, frontal attacks could even take the form of weapons and stones and so forth. Because we are in a democratic society, the frontal attack that we have launched is that of what we have called a critical stance towards the GNU through the battle of ideas. However, that goes hand in hand with what we call the war of position. In other words, there are important positions which, if we were to vacate, a further rightward shift in the government composition will take place, and that would be the shortest route to selling the working class and allowing ourselves to be alienated from our votes and the votes we canvassed for the ANC.
So to be clear then, the advice from the Communist Party to this lone member from the organization in cabinet is for them to hold the fort, to stay there as you continue advancing what you say is this critical position against the GNU.
they must hold the fort because the struggle is taking place not only outside the state, it is also taking place within the state. Let me give you an example. The previous parliament passed the Education Laws Amendment Bill. The president didn't sign it during the term of that previous parliament. He only signed it in the current term. That bill was passed by the majority of parliament representing the majority of South African people. Now, pushing their position within cabinet, the DA came out opposing that act to a point where the president postponed clause 4 and 5 of that particular act. You can see that the battle is taking place not only outside of the state, but also inside of the state. So we have to be everywhere the battle is taking place, including where we just have only one member. The struggle must go on.
All right. What's your response, Dr. Mashilo, to people who say that's nothing but double speak? I mean, on the one hand, you're incredibly critical of this government formation, but on the other, you say, in fact, that there's an agenda to be driven even inside government. I mean, put differently, some people might suggest that your criticism is you chopping off your nose to spite your face.
No, it's not like that. That will be to ignore South Africa's history. We fought serious battles in this country. The government in 1996 adopted GNU. We fought from within and from without the state. Eventually, there were changes. We drove a financial sector transformation campaign. There is no other political organization that did that in this country. We drove that campaign to a point where the government adopted the National Credit Act, established the National Credit Regulator, and later this was transformed into the Financial Sector Conduct Authority. So in terms of our policy, we must be present and push forward the struggle wherever it is taking place.
All right. I'm struggling to find the exact quote, but yesterday when the president was speaking, that's President Cyril Ramaphosa, he basically insinuated that the criticism has been leveled against the GNU through media platforms and the likes. What do you know about conversations, or at least efforts to have conversations with the leadership of Luthuli House behind closed doors in order to iron out some of these issues?
I can tell you the president was not referring to the SACP. I can tell you he was referring to other people. The reason why he was not referring to the SACP is this. We met in an Alliance Political Council briefing session where we told the president and the entire leadership of the office bearers of the ANC and COSATU that we are against any coalition arrangement with the DA. COSATU did the same. The media was not present when that happened on 2 occasions. So he might be referring to other people, but not to us, because we raised these views not only inside of the alliance, but also outside.